fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Supercar.
Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to round number 7 of the iRacing V8 Supercars official series here, proudly presented tonight on the iRacing Esports Network by SimSpeed TV. My name is Zach Hanlon, and joining me up in the booth this evening is the wonderful Mr. Jay Kennedy, who will also be bringing you all of the excellent pictures for tonight's viewing. We are here in the hills of America for the America's home of speed, Road America. It's a old school track, and it's going to be very difficult to tame the 650 horsepower Aussie V8 supercars here. And we've already seen some troubles for a couple of guys in qualifying, struggling to get some laps down with just 3 minutes remaining in qualifying at the moment. But up at the top, Jay, Brady Myers is joined by Chris Coxhead and James Mackey, which is pretty unusual to see those names up at the top of the leaderboard. Jackson Susam-Harlow and Andrew Gilliam very closely behind at the top of the tables as well.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, Brady Myers at the top, but yeah, James Mackey's one to watch tonight. He gave Jake Burton an absolute run for his money in the early race tonight, so watch out for James Mackey, currently in 3rd position. He's going to be one to watch tonight, but 22 cars out on track, all out there trying to put in a lap time at the moment, but Jake Burton and Jack Boyd are two that are in a little bit of trouble. Burton's first lap did not count, and Jack Boyd had issues when he went to start his first attempt at a flying lap, so he's a little bit delayed and may not get 2 runs at it. So he's just posted a lap time which puts him into 4th. That might be as good as he's going to get.
I was going to say both of those guys are definitely capable of being inside the top 5, and Jake Burton, I'm sure, is a man very capable on putting it on pole position this evening. We'll see how he goes through the final section of this lap, looking pretty tidy so far as he comes through the very fast right-hander towards the end of the lap. A bucket of understeer, doesn't quite make the apex there, a little bit of a twitch as he comes off the exit of the corner, catching some of that grass. He's got to be so committed into this braking zone here. 400 meters, or I think it's actually feet here in America, for Jake Burton to slow down nearly 1,600 kilograms of steel coming through the final collection of corners. Now a little bit of oversteer as he tries to get the car as left as possible for the final corner here at Road America. So important to get the traction down nicely. It looks pretty good for Jake Burton as he flies up the hill towards the finishing line. Checkered flag is flying for him, and it will be a 206.147, which puts him ahead of Brady Myers by just
Brady got him back.
of a second. Oh, that is fantastic. So second lap is not too bad for these guys, and there's a couple still out there, so a couple of times could still fall here.
Yeah, and the one that we'll need to watch now is Jack Boyd. He'll have about 3 seconds left on the clock when he finishes this lap, so he could jump up even higher. Andrew Gilliam is out there having a second run. He won't get another lap time in, so he'll start from 7th at best. Corey Preston, Thomas McMillan still yet to post a lap time. McMillan is not far away from posting a time as well. We'll see what both of these guys can do. We'll see if McMillan can get himself up the timesheets. He's actually been quite quick since he's made the move over to Zero Esports.
Yeah, as has Brady Myers. They're obviously working well together in that team and getting the car set up pretty nicely. That being said, those Pursuit Sim Racing guys are not looking too bad up the top end of the field either. 206.7 for McMillan. Did it register? It did.
Yeah, 11th.
Up to 11th there. And Jack Boyd not able to improve his position with that final lap there. But very tight up the top of the standings this evening. But it's Brady Myers for Zero Esports, who is our pole man. Alongside him is Jake Burton on a 206.147, just 1/10 behind the pole sitter. Chris Cox had great qualifying performance for him in third position for V8 Sleuth Esports, with James Mackey in his Pursuit Sim Racing car lining up alongside him. Jack Boyd just snuck a couple of laps in at the end there, good for 5th, alongside Altus Esports' Jackson Suslin Harlow. Andrew Gilliam, another Pursuit Sim Racing car inside the top 10, alongside him, Sam Sutton for TTL Esports. Behind them, Michael Taliantich in his Pursuit Sim Racing car, so 3 Pursuit Sim Racing cars inside the top 10, and good to see Harley Haber out there in the in the 10th position.
Then we got McMillan and Janssen on row number 6 with Marlon McMullen second in the championship. He'll start this one from 13th position, a long way back. Going to be a tough road for him. Jordan Ross alongside him with Damian Johnson and David Kinman on the 8th row. 9th row to Zach Baker and Greg Sharp. Then we've got Scott O'Keefe, Christian Smart, and then Corey Preston and Bertrand Florian did not get a lap time in, so it's going to be a tough job for those guys at the back of the field, but this is a great little run into turn 1. Turns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, always action-packed here at Road America.
Yeah, and you can get a bit of 2x2 action through the middle section as well. It's going to be difficult in these V8s, given how heavy they can be. It's difficult to get these things through the corners, but I'm sure the guys will be turning it up. They know they're on telly, and a couple of these guys are in championship contention as well. 3,900 pretty much is the strength of field this evening, so a very strong field here with 22 of our iRacing Aussie V8 supercars here lining up on the grid at America's home of speed, Road America. 650 horsepower per machine times 22, and you can hear them now with the revs rising. And at Road America, we are go. And it's a good start for Brady Myers. He's bogged down a little bit just on that second gear there. Jake Burton might be able to challenge him round the outside as they come into turn number 1 here. But a good clean start from most of the field. Long run down into turn 1. Bit of weaving further back in the field. And Jake Burton's going to try and go for it round the outside. That's Jackson Suslin Harlow running wide on the exit of turn 1 well. And that's going to cause a big accident just behind. And that is, oh my God, that's about half the field, maybe a quarter of the field taken out there in that incident. We'll get some replays very, very shortly. But up at the front of the field, Brady Myers is having to defend very heavily here. He's got Burton on the outside. Mackey's looking to go through on the outside as well as they come down into the third turn. Probably the most treacherous place for these guys. And it's going to go 3 wide into 4 nearly as Mackey looks up the inside of Brady Myers, who's got to defend on the outside from Burton. But they're all, as they were, off the line so far. Although Mackey's gotten past Coxhead, which is a good start for him, and now starting to really put pressure on Jake Burton here.
Wow, what a start. We'll need to go back and dissect it, but Harley Haber already making moves, +4 spots. Marlon McMullen, +4. David Kidman, +4. And Christian Smart, +5. He avoided that big start line incident. We'll get a replay up very, very soon. But Andrew Gilliam ready to make moves here. He got a great run coming through the carousel, but nowhere to go, and Harley Haber also looking to make a move.
Yeah, Chris Coxhead just not quite up to speed in the second half of this lap here, and now under immense pressure from Gilliam, who's going to have the inside line into the final section here. Very hard on the brakes for all these guys. Nice work there. And just behind him as well, that's Harley Haber, who's going to try and get up another position on this opening lap. That's fantastic work from him. Holding it tough around the outside, gives him the inside line for the final corner. And now Jack Boyd is having a bit of a look as well. And what started as a great qualifying performance for Chris Coxhead has all started to go down the drain, because he has lost quite a few positions in these last couple of corners here. We'll get a modem simulation replay here of I can't actually see what's going on there. So actually, here we go. This is the start of the race. And so this is Greg Sharp in the Stealth Simforce car, a bit further back in the field. And just up ahead of him in about the upper mid-pack here is where things are going to start becoming quite unstuck for a couple of these guys. So Jackson, Susel and Harlow a bit deep there into turn number one, and he's coming back on the track. Michael Taliancic is right there. That sent him into the wall, and the following cars have just cascaded into the back of what it was essentially more or less a partially blocked track there for a lot of those guys. Look how good Harley Haber was to get up the inside there and just squeeze through all that trouble. And it looks like possibly Harlow might have lost it on the grass trying to get back on the track there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 cars heavily involved in that opening incident.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge crash, and we're seeing Jackson Susel and Harlow, Zach Baker, Greg Sharp and Corey Preston all out of this race now. They're all in the pits getting damage repaired. The only ones that drove back on their own powers were Susel and Harlow, Baker and Sharp. Corey Preston is well and truly out. But it's still on at the front of the field. Jake Burton is stuck right behind Brady Myers. And who did I say before this race started was the one to watch? James Mackey is right there ready to pounce on Jake Burton if he makes the slightest mistake.
Yeah, he's really tucked in there, not letting the two guys up ahead get away from him, as Gilliam's starting to just fall back a little bit. He had to get past Coxhead, so now an opportunity for him to gain some ground on this leading trio as they come to the end of lap number 3, but maybe not for David Kinman, one of the many Pursuit Sim Racing cars out here this evening, already carrying a little bit of damage prior to that incident. We'll get a modem simulation replay here, and so easy through this fast right-hander. Oh, just unsettled a little bit on the exit of the corner. He was kind of on the mid-exit there, and that oversteer moment just took him up into the grass, and he just didn't get off the power enough. Sent the car into the inside retaining the wall there very heavily, in a very broken car there for Kinman, as we watch now on board with Jake Burton in second position, very closely followed by James Mackey, who's going for a nice exit here. Nice run, but Jake Burton actually got a surprisingly good run out of the corner. Not sure either of these guys are going to be looking to put pressure on Myers at this stage, as we have seen, with maybe the exception of Watkins Glen last week. These guys take it pretty cool in the first stint of this race, but Mackey running out a little bit of room there to get the braking done into the very sharp left-hander there at turn 3, and having to go almost onto the off-run on the outside of the track to avoid going into the rear of Burton. So really pushing now is James Mackey to keep himself ahead of his teammate Gilliam. Harley Haber's got a lot of speed. He's already made his way up from 10th and has caught the back of the leading train now, and Chris Coxhead hasn't fallen away either. So these guys up the front are not getting away possibly as quickly as we might have thought. I mean, the qualifying standings were very close, but usually you start seeing, even after a couple of laps, a bit of a train starting to break away. But these guys are all very close to one another and pushing very hard. Gilliam and Haber both off the track through the fast right-hander there. And Gilliam's going to come under pressure here from Haber, who's late on the brakes on the inside. And Haber is going to make it up into position number 4. Very nice driving from him in his Mach 1 esports machine, moving himself ahead of Pursuit Sim Racing's Andrew Gilliam, who's already been progressing quite well. And Haber's looking explosive in these first couple of laps.
Interesting there too, James Mackey's dropped off the back of Jake Burton and Brady Myers. while that move was going on. So he made a little bit of a mistake through Canada corner as well. Amazing that we've only done 3 laps of this race as Haber's defending so hard, but Gilliam's got too much overspeed and he'll go through back into 4th position. A little bit of a bump though.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that was a
bit
pretty
more than a little
substantial knock there. Yeah, but they're getting it done either way, and Harley Haber is going to get the move back. So a little bit of a rub there through the mid corner, and now Gilliam's got speed once again. Now this is this is starting to get dangerous for these guys. They've already fallen off the back of Mackie quite substantially, and they're not going to want to fall off beyond the draft here, but they're really going for it down into turn number 3, not leaving each other much room at all. And even a little bit of a rub on the exit there from Gilliam. And now Coxhead is going to try and go through, but Andrew Gilliam is going to have absolutely none of that, crossing right across the front of the car of Chris Coxhead there, and denying him the opportunity to go down the inside of 4. But now he's got a little bit of a breathing room here, does Harley Haber, and that might just help him get back the momentum that he had previously. He was catching the leading train very, very well and has looked to be one of the fastest cars on the track. Andrew Gilliam actually has the fastest lap of this race so far. Interesting, Jake Burton has not actually completed a clean lap yet and has not put in a what can be qualified as a fastest lap. So all these guys up the front here really pushing, and Harley Haber, also similarly to Burton, has not actually remained with all 4 wheels on the track for any completion of this race so far. So we'll see as these guys come around if they can put a clean lap time down and get themselves up on the standings for fastest lap. But last time round, Jack Boyd was actually the fastest car on circuit, down in 7th position.
Jack Boyd is one to watch in this race too. We know how quick he is. But Harley Haber on Friday night, of course, we were unable to broadcast AOSC, but Haber went toe-to-toe with Jared Filsell in AOSC, and they had a really epic battle. So don't be surprised to see Harley Haber come right up to the back of these guys when we get to pit stops time. And again, Jake Burton, Harley Haber do not register a lap time, so they're still running off the circuit. They need to be a little bit careful with 20 laps to go. Still a long way left in this race. They run too wide too much, they'll find themselves in a little bit of trouble come the end of this race.
And some of us saw a couple of the screenshots of some of the contact lists from some of the last rounds, and if that's anything to go by, there's going to be some hard racing in the later stages of this event, and they'll want to have a few incident points left in the bag just in case they want to go for a bit of a overzealous move to go for race victory here. So something to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that the 2 main contenders in this championship at the moment, Jake Burton and Marlon McMullen, are separated by 8 positions at the moment. And with Marlon McMullen already trailing in the championship, doesn't bode too well for him. Although Brady Myers, who's only about, I think, 62 or 64 points behind in the championship, is currently leading this race. So the championship standings are looking very interesting at the moment, especially considering where these guys are placed in the race at this stage. And I'm sure that Marlon McMullen will be thinking about that at the moment. Unfortunately, at this time, he's just not able to find the speed that he needs to be able to chase these guys up at the front. James Mackey's not having any troubles though. 0.3 of a second faster on the last lap compared to our leaders, who were close. I mean, they were within 1,000th of a second of each other on the last time by. So these 2 guys up the front matching pace incredibly tightly here, but Mackey's the fastest of all of them and was the fastest car on track last time by. So we'll see how these lap times stack up this time by. Brady Myers looking like he's under a little bit of pressure here. Jake Burton's going to give him the bump up the straight. A little bit of bump drafting as they come into turn number 1. Lets off the gas nice and early. A little bit of fuel saving for Jake Burton as they come through turn number 1. And that time around, 207, pretty much 207.2 for Brady, and then Burton and Mackey are both on 7.0s. Harley Haber though is 6.7, and for Andrew Gilliam is 6.7 as well. So those guys are catching also. So don't count anybody inside the top 5. And I mean, Chris Coxhead, Michael Taliancic, they're right there. You really can't count anyone in this top 7 out of victory contention right now.
It's amazing how close this is, and pit stops are going to be so crucial. How many times have we said it that missing your pit box or slightly speeding at pit entry will cost you a race or cost you 2 or 3 positions? When we've got battle packs like this is proof of why you need to practice your pit entry and make sure that you understand how to practice those pit stops. Stopping on your marks is so crucial. Making sure you fuel your car up properly and making sure you don't overfuel the car is just as crucial, as well. As Burton looks really strong here, but have a look at James Mackey, just happy sitting back. He's just watching these guys battle. In the earlier race, Burton only maintained the lead due to an undercut. He pitted 1 lap earlier than James Mackey and was able to maintain the lead. If Mackey's learnt anything from the early race, he might try and jump earlier than Burton to try and jump him. These guys are committed through there, though.
Yeah, especially Brady Myers. He was getting the slip out a little bit through the exit there, and definitely, I imagine, would have obtained a 1x from that. But he actually made a small mistake just before coming into the carousel, and that's where Jake Burton was really able to pounce, and Mackey's right there, but also just behind them, as we've seen in the last couple of laps, Harley Haber starting to hunt these guys down as well. We now look back to the cars trailing Brady Myers as he comes up the hill here. Can just get a little view of the train of cars that's following him as he comes into turn number 1. Once again, still maintains the race lead at this stage, but he has 6 cars behind him, which are coming very angrily and very quickly. Harley Haber, the quickest of them all, 2:06.7 once again for him, and the lead is 2:07.2 and a 2:07.3. So these guys are really going to have to pick it up now, because the guys behind are coming at quite a rate, and this, what is a little bit separated pack now, will become a big train once again. But we've seen these guys become very impatient when you get a little bit too much of a train forming here, and then we see a little bit of a break again, and then we get the train forming again. So it's really interesting just the way these races tend to ebb and flow, and once we start getting into the pit stop stage of this race again, it will become even more interesting, because as we heard from Jay before, a couple of these guys have run different pit strategies, and we've seen different pit strategies utilized by these guys previously, both very successfully and unsuccessfully. The undercut tends to work very well here, so we'll see how these guys decide to go. They can take a lot of fuel in this race, though, so they can actually go very deep into the race here without making a pit. And track temperature is something we haven't really talked about much. It's actually 6:06 a.m. server time, which is much earlier than we see most of these races. Track temp only 19 degrees. So the tires are not going to be going off very much at all, and we have seen pretty consistent lap times from all of these guys. And it also has to be said that around here at Road America, because it's such a long track and it is so difficult, and there are so many bumps here, the lap time variance can be very immense, which is probably why we're seeing so much ebbing and flowing between these top battle packs here. But at the moment, the guys who are chasing are doing a fantastic job, and look how much Harley Haber's been able to close up on this lap as well.
Be interesting to see what his lap time is this time by as well, as he crosses the line. 2:07.1, the rest of them 2:07.5s and 4s. So definitely the fastest car out on track at the moment. He and Chris Coxhead and Andrew Gilliam are the fastest. Actually, Gilliam was the fastest car last time by 2:06.7. So Gilliam is one to watch here. But here comes Haber, big late lunge up the inside, and this could be moved done. It's going to be a drag race here.
There's going to be a drag race down into turn number 3, and interesting how Harley Haber did not wait at all. He caught the back of these guys and he went, I'm not just going to catch up, I'm going to come through, and I'm going to make my way up the front, and it's on for the lead as well. So it's 2x2 for the podium positions, ladies and gentlemen, and Jake Burton has gotten the move done on race leader Brady Myers, and Harley Haber has maintained 3rd position there. And Andrew Gilliam's having a bit of a sniff at 4th off James Mackey as well. So change for 2 positions in the last couple of corners. And Jake Burton now might see if he's been doing a bit of fuel saving and if he's willing to stretch his legs here. And also see if Brady Myers is going to be able to keep up with that pace, and how this train starts to plump up a little bit here, because now Chris Coxhead's joined the back. We also have Michael Taliantich just sniffing on the back there as well. We'll get a modem simulation replay here of Jake Burton as he went down very cleanly through the inside, had the draft, had the run. Brady moved to the inside, But Jake had just enough of a car's width there and utilized it as quickly as he could and into the lead for Jake Burton. And just
James Mackey off the circuit.
Oh, James Mackey's off the circuit, as is Andrew Gilliam. So that's a big mistake there for Mackey and Gilliam, both losing positions, and we've got a gap to the leading trio once again, except this time Mackey is not part of that group. We'll just see what happened. I wonder if there was a bit of a touch here between these two drivers, both of these guys off the circuit, and it looks like they've both just gone too deep, trying to fight each other, and that has not helped out either of those guys in any way.
No, and that will be a very, very awkward conversation between the teammates as well. Interesting there with Brady Myers. He actually got on the brakes a little bit early there when Jake Burton was going to make that move. I don't think he wanted to fight that too hard. What Brady Myers can do now, he said, hey, Jake, I've led for 8 laps. Your turn to lead for a few, so I can save some fuel back. This is going to be interesting now to see how this goes. And we've now got a true 9-car battle here, because while these top 3 are together, Chris Coxhead back into 4th, but Gilliam, Boyd, Mackey, Sutton, and Jordan Ross has closed in on these guys. Is Jordan Ross looking to make a move here on Sam Sutton?
Yeah, Jordan Ross in his Evolution Racing Team machine, looking to get past Sam Sutton, a veteran in these V8 supercars, and a man that definitely knows how to turn the wheel. Coming under a bit of pressure, though, from the ERT man. Been doing well so far. Sutton, he's started 8th, able to maintain that position through all the chaos, but now in the second half of this first stint here, starting to come under a little bit of pressure up at the front. Harley Haber also very close to the back of Brady Myers. It's amazing that Harley Haber's come from 10th position, being able to catch these guys and put the move on James Mackey so quickly, and is now starting to pressure for second position as well.
Yeah, he's just looking really strong. He's just got the car dialed in, and just so skatey under brakes, but commitment looking so strong there from Harley Haber. We're not far off the pit window opening as well. Another 2 laps or so and the pit window will be open. And of course, these really cool conditions will mean that the track will be faster, which means the fuel burn will be slightly up. So these guys have to really think about how much fuel these cars are using at the moment. Make sure that their tyres will last as well. Of course, they're pushing a little bit harder because the tyre wear is a little bit less. James Mackey is the first to blink. He's in very, very early, but no surprise with the Pursuit Sim Racing car being the first one in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he comes out into any traffic here. Looks like he's possibly going to come out into a bit of a gap. He's might come out just ahead of Scott O'Keefe and Michael Taliancic, who... well, Michael's definitely come into trouble throughout this race as well. So, have to see how they're going there. In fact, Michael... Yeah, he hasn't actually made a pit stop yet, and he's down in 15th. Oh yeah, he got caught up in that unfortunate first lap incident, as we're now on board with Harley Haber coming down into turn number 3 in his Mach 1 Esports machine. Very confident under brakes, and great on turning as well. That car's, as you said, Jay, it's just looking so hooked up right now. It's got good braking capability, good entry speed, good exit speed. And when you have a car that feels that good, really can just make you feel that much better. So James Mackey comes out just behind Bertrand Fourniret in his machine, and Thomas McMillan is another man who's decided to come into the pits and utilize some fresh air outside of the train to try and propel themselves a little further up the grid for when the guys up here start making up positions. And Jack Boyd looking strong now on the back of the Pursuit Sim Racing car of Andrew Gilliam. Very hard to follow through here. Very fast right-hander, but with these V8 supercars not really utilizing much downforce potential, makes following a little bit easier than in, say, a Formula car or even a GT car through the circuit here, especially through that very fast right-hander, where in a car with downforce, you just pick up a bucket understeer. These things rely so much on mechanical grip that doesn't make too much of a discernible difference. But unfortunately for Jack Boyd, he hasn't been able to get the move done so far, but looking very strong in his Gone Rogue Motorsports machine. And they're actually going to peel off down onto pit road, as is Chris Coxhead in his V8 Sleuths machine. And be interesting to see where those guys came out. They were effectively more or less fighting with James Mackey, although James had the mistake and was kind of in the middle of that pack there. So we'll see how that all starts to pan out. And that could really give an indication of this leading trio here. If they can pay enough attention to that, or if they have spotters with them, they might be able to pick up on the pit strategies unfolding now and decide on theirs within, well, possibly even this lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see 1 or 2 out of this group in. You'd think that the guys behind Brady Myers and Harley Haber will try and jump Jake Burton with a little bit of an undercut, but as we've been saying, the tyre wear's not huge. The lap times drop-off isn't that great from what we've seen their first flying lap to what they're doing now. Only about 3 or 4 tenths of a second off their best laps. As Chris Coxhead and Andrew Gilliam have come out. Have a look at Gilliam and McCoy. Oh! A little bit of contact between teammates there.
Yeah, once again, the 2 team cars getting a little too close for comfort, and James Mackey's just run a little bit deep. That's going to allow his teammate Andrew to have a little bit of breathing room down into turn number 3. But Harley Haber's looking very strong here, really putting the pressure on to Brady Myers as they come through the final section of this track here. Final hard braking zone for the lap, and will Harley go for a move? He was very late on the brakes and down the inside. This is a move that he's liked this evening. He's going to make it work once again, and was so early on the apex as well. Really managed to get the braking done very nicely there. And now will it be a peel off into the pits for either 3 of these guys? Surely Brady's got to come in. I think if anyone's got to come in, it's got to be Brady. And it's Brady and Haber. So Jake Burton, well, he already knows that this undercut can have a big effect on the race. He utilized it in his last race just a couple of hours ago. And now the tables have turned for the young man from Perth. We'll have to see if he's able to really push now and just absolutely put in qualifying laps if he's going to stay out too much longer to try and keep his lead, because these guys have been looking very fast. Harley Haber in particular, if he can get out ahead of Brady Myers here, he is going to have the legs to potentially jump our race leader, and that would be an absolutely fantastic feat after starting 10th on the grid. We're just looking at Chris Coxhead now. Has got a bit awkward there between him and Michael Taliancic wanting to dive into the pits, but Chris Coxhead, I mean, even he's looking pretty good to almost jump these guys now. So that bodes well. If these guys can have a good outlap here, they may be able to jump Burton. And actually, Brady Myers come out ahead in the pit stop. So a much better pit stop for the Zero Esports guys. Mach 1 maybe need to think about the strategy next time out, but it was very, very minor in the pit stop time, but it was the lane time. An extra 2 tenths on the lane time as well meant that was about 1.4 seconds the difference between Brady Myers and Harley Haber. And Brady already going defensive, guys. This is not the time to fight. This is the time to push. Get ahead of Burton and worry about the rest later. Well, these guys might just kill it for themselves here if they decide to battle too much, but Haber's just decided to back off a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a mistake trying to push so hard. They're on fresh, cold tires now, and it will take just a couple of corners for these things to really heat up before those Dunlops really start getting the sticky stuff down as they come through the carousel now. This is going to heat up the tires nicely. And Jake Burton, race leader, into the pit lane. This is critical for these guys. Brady Myers and Harley Haber, have they put in enough to jump the man who has led the last couple of laps of this race?
It's going to be really interesting. We've got Steve Jansen also coming in. So Bertrand, the only car yet to come into the pits. So when we cross the line, we'll be just past halfway. 12 odd laps to go. It's spicing up to be a very, very interesting finish. I think that Burton will hold on, but it won't be much. It's going to be very, very tight between all of them. Those first 7 laps behind Brady Myers, I think, will be the difference. Burton had massive fuel saving going on, even bump drafting to try and save fuel. But will Brady be able to pass him? This is going to be interesting, going to be tight.
Oh, Jake hasn't gotten off the jacks yet, and Harley's coming up the hill.
Oh, it's going to be really close.
Got him for sure. He's got him for sure. There's the overspeed. He's going to have to defend hard, but not going to be good enough for Jake Burton, as both Harley Haber and Brady Myers swoop through, with Brady now taking the race lead. And this has really mixed up the order of the front here. Harley Haber started this race from position number 10, has worked himself up into second. He's already shown that he can pass Brady Myers. Can he do it again now when it really counts with 11 laps to go here? We'll have to wait and see. The Pursuit Sim Racing cars, well, they're hot in pursuit behind Chris Coxhead, who's also marginally behind Jake Burton, has been showing good pace throughout this race. And Brady Myers, a little bit of a conservative line there through turn number 3. He's got this race lead now, and so long as he can keep the pace up, he may have a chance at winning it here. But those two cars behind him are looking very strong this evening, and with the confidence that Harley Haber has in that machine, you've definitely got to put him massively up there in contention for victory tonight in his VF Commodore. Have to see what he's able to do with that over the next 11 laps. But most of this train now, I mean, all 9 cars at the front of this pack. I mean, you can see here from our leader looking back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in direct line of sight from our leader, and just behind them as well, the next 3 cars are not too far away. The entire top 9 of this race, after 30 laps of racing, are separated by...
top 11 are 8 seconds.
Top 11 are 8 seconds. You do not see that very often,
Unreal.
It has to be said. But that just goes to show you, we said at the beginning of this race, we had a good quality field, 3,900 or 3,896 if you want to get oddly specific about it. But that is a mighty fine strength of field here for a Monday night broadcasted race. And ladies and gentlemen, do remember that if you've enjoyed seeing the racing tonight, chuck a big thumbs up on the video this evening. Every little bit counts, and don't forget as well to subscribe to the iRacing Esport Network, and you can also jump over to SimSpeed TV and give us a subscribe over there. It would be greatly appreciated. But these guys have been really turning it up this evening here on the iRacing Esports Network. And once again, if you've been thinking about it, dabbling, think you're not good enough, want to get involved, just get in there. Just come on out. Get it done. Join us here in the Monday night Strength of Field Racing. You've seen how good it is, and we've seen how fun the racing can be. No matter the speed of the field, there's always good racing here on the Monday night. And the top 11 cars separated by 8.8 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. After 30 minutes of racing, after pit stop strategies have all played out, that is a fantastic showing from all 22 of our drivers this evening. And so unfortunate that we lost so many. Oh, it's on for the lead. Oh my gosh, a bit of a bump there, and Brady Myers is going to go wide just before the carousel. Now Jake Burton's going to swoop around the outside on the entry, and a little bit of a bump there from the Zero Esports driver trying to push Jake Burton through the corner. He's not very happy about that, and the red mist is going to descend on the 3 guys here. Harley Haber for Mac 1 Esports is your new leader, with a little bit of a bump and run there, but it looked like it was a late move and late defended. We might see if we can get a replay of that move for the lead, but it has all changed up here in the second half of this race. The pit stops are done, but the gloves are off, and these guys are out to fight this evening. So here's Harley. Bit of room on the outside, went to the inside. Oh, it has to be said that did look like Brady was intending to go to the right there, and a little bit of a jab to the left. He's moving to the right of the track, and does move just as they come into the braking zone. Probably just a racing incident there between those guys. And unfortunately for Brady, he's lost out, but definitely not out of contention here in this evening's race. And now Jake Burns turning up the heat. He wants to have another go at leading this race, and he's going to push Harley Haber to his very limits to try and make that happen. Immense pressure inside the top 3, and what's that doing? Well, it's only backing up V8 Sleuth's Esports driver Chris Coxhead into that battle, and just behind him, Andrew Gilliam in the Pursuit Sim Racing car is just ever so gently catching these guys. James Mackey, his teammate, has fallen off a little bit, but it's defensive down into turn number 3 for Harley Haber. And Jake Burton's going to hold the speed round the outside. That's a great move there. Not quite able to get it done. It's going to be difficult. If he can hold it around the outside, he'll have it on the inside for the next part of the track. This is great racing between these guys. This is what can be done. And these guys are showing that you can do it when you have good, hard, respectful racing. And Brady Myers, well, you can tell he has no idea where to go because the guys up ahead of him are taking up all the room. And now Chris Coxhead and Andrew Gilliam well and truly in this battle. It's a 5-car battle for the lead.
Top 6 separated by under 2 seconds. Top 11 now 7 seconds with the way these guys are fighting. So they're closing up behind. This is incredible fighting. Haber, Burton, Myers, Coxhead, Gilliam, Mackey, and even Sutton, Boyd and McMullen in that next pack are all in with a shot of winning this race. This is incredible. 9 more laps of racing to go. We've still got 20 odd minutes of racing left. This is going to be epic.
Week after week. It does not disappoint here, ladies and gentlemen, on the iRacing Esports Network. Monday night, strength of field, V8 supercars. It doesn't get much better than this, guys. 5-car train for the lead. We've seen the lead change at least 3 or 4 times throughout this evening. 3 different race leaders, and the man currently leading this pack started in 10th position and has used pure pace and a little bit of strategy to work himself into that position. Brady Myers for Zero Esports. He's led this race. He's led it for a good portion, and he wants to get back up there, but so does Jake Burton, just up ahead of him. And Chris Coxhead, well, he started this race 3rd. He's had an interesting one. He's moved himself back up to where he was. And a big slide just as I'm giving him a little bit of a rev up here. He gets the revs up a little too high on the throttle, and the torque from his 650 horsepower V8 has sent him sliding into the clutches of Andrew Gilliam, but may not be able to get a move done. And these guys, I'm sure, know that they can get involved in the action. And a big bump there from Brady, forcing Jake Burton wide to the track. And that's opened it up for Chris Coxhead to have a little bit of a move here as well. Not quite able to get it done here, but if you remember in the early stage of this race, Chris Coxhead, I mean, he lost 4 positions in just a matter of corners. He's found himself back up into 4th position, and potentially with the stuff that's going on at the front of this field, he could find himself with a race victory tonight. If not, he's most certainly within a good arm's reach of a podium here this evening.
There's no love lost between those top 3 at the moment, is there? Haber, Myers and Burton will have the gloves on. You know that if Brady Myers gets right up behind Harley Haber, there'll be a little bit of a bump for sure. How aggressive the bump will be, we don't know, but there will definitely be a bump. And Burton will be wanting to give one back to Brady Myers after that little hit as well. So the gloves are going to be off. This is going to be action-packed. Who is going to hold on? This is intense. It's great to watch.
Yeah, I think that if these guys don't have a gap of at least 0.3 or 0.4, we're going to see some panels connecting. And for the time being, it seems like they've got just enough room between them where they're not going to be scratching off too much paint, but they have definitely been trading a little. And as we've seen, quite a lot of fire in the hands and feet of these gentlemen this evening. And Brady Myers, that's a big lunge to the inside at turn number 1. Hero stuff. He's going to get it done now. Jake Burton's going to go down the inside at the exit of turn number 1. And Harley Haber has been left out to dry. He's going to try and cut back in. He's had great traction in that car. And once again, he's got the drag out of the final, or out of turn number 2, but he doesn't have the draft. And Brady Myers is going to preference Burton in the draft, going to pull to the outside maybe to give Haber a little bit of a run, but he's going to go hard on the brakes early, force Burton to back out and back around the outside for Haber. He's going to pick up at least another position, and no.
It's happened.
No,
it's
can't
happened.
be. Oh, we said these guys early on, they were using too many off tracks, and Harley Haber has been pushing the issue far too frequently. Oh, I hope that's not a disqualification, but it most certainly does seem like it is for the Mach 1 Esports driver. We've been doing so well, but the action continues between the Pursuit Sim racing cars because James Mackey has tried to go through with his teammate on Chris Coxhead, and Andrew Gilliam has gotten the move done, but unfortunately Mackie not quite able to get things sorted, so this has just opened things up completely once again. Brady Myers now leads this race comfortably. Not too comfortably though, he's got some fast cars behind him, but he's got breathing room. He's got enough room to refocus his mind, hit his apexes, hit his braking markers, try and pull away from the angry group of cars that is now a little bit further behind him. But the guys behind, they've been pushing all evening, they're still hungry, and Jake Burton's had good pace. He's had lots of pace in that car, and he's got the potential to catch back up once again. But very unfortunate to see there Harley Haber, who was having such a good battle up at the front of this race, to be taken out so unexpectedly from us, definitely up in the commentary team here. And Jack Boyd now under immense pressure from a man in contention for the championship lead. Marlon McMullen trying to send it through on turn number 1. He's got it half done through turn number 1, but he's going to have to get it all the way done into 2. Jack Boyd, though, he's gone deep on the brakes. He's going to run the wider line and try to go for more momentum on the exit. He's run a little bit out of room there. Tucks back in for the draft, and he'll have lots of speed coming down the end of this straight. He's probably going to have to force himself to the outside, as is Chris Coxhead, as he tries to regain position on Pursuit Sim Racing's Andrew Gilliam. Not going to happen. Boyd to the outside into turn number 3, locks up the inside front there, and unfortunately looks like that is going to be job done.
McMillan!
Oh, McMillan's going to make it tight between all 3 of these guys. And if I could have just a little bit of my voice left for the last 6 laps of this race, guys, that'd be fantastic. But
no hope, mate. No hope.
They're not going to make it easy for us here. But just settling down now between those guys a little bit further back. And Andrew Gilliam has a little bit of breathing space. He's really got to utilize this opportunity now to catch up to Jake Burton. We've seen Gilliam have the pace in this race. He's actually got the fastest lap of the race, if I'm not mistaken, a 2:06.508. And these guys at the moment, Jay, they're lapping in the 2:08s. They're bickering so much at the moment.
It's incredible, the fighting that's going on. Have a look at this pack now. We saw Jordan Ross after the pit stops was a little bit further back. He dropped around about 2 or 3 seconds from these guys. He's right in it now. There's contact between McMillan and Boyd. Boyd's been pushed wide and McMillan goes through, but there's a bump back from Boyd on McMillan. This isn't over.
No, and Boyd's managed to just keep his own there as that's just behind him in the ERT machine. Jordan Ross trying to find a way through as well, not quite able to do so. So Jack Boyd losing a position there to McMillan in his Zero Esports machine, who's had a bit of a quiet race. Up a couple of positions though for McMillan, +3, so not a bad evening for him, up into the top 10. Gilliam's now defending hard from Chris Coxhead. Oh, he's going to carry the speed round the outside. It's a preference for a lot of these guys. Don't have to give up too early on that corner. If you find the speed round the outside, it's quite cambered. And if you pick up the speed on the exit, you have the inside line at turn number 3. And James Mackey also going to try and follow his teammate in, but Chris Coxhead is so brave on the brakes. Too brave, maybe. It looks like maybe just a little bit too much. And are both of these Pursuit Sim Racing cars going to get through? No, because Chris Coxhead is going to squeezed out just by Andrew Gilliam there, and there is not much room between those guys. And Chris Coxhead very tightly packed in that Pursuit Sim Racing sandwich, as Marlon McMullen still just ahead of McMillan, starting to maybe come under pressure once again. Oh no, and that's Coxhead and Mackie just coming together there, and Mackie, great car control, able to catch that big slide after a bit of quarter-to-quarter contact to the rear for him. And Jordan Ross now starting to close in once again on Boyd, as just up ahead of them, McMillan's already built a bit of a gap and starting to chase down McMullen. And we've seen McMillan and McMullen tongue twist us a couple of times throughout this iRacing V8 Supercars official series, albeit a couple of seasons ago. Always good to see those guys within close quarters. Not so much for us up in the commentary booth here, but we'll try and make it work for you guys, the audience. And geez, what a race it's been so far for Brady Myers up at the front of this field, but Jake Burton is not letting him escape. He is keeping the pressure there. That time by Jake Burton at 2:06.6. A 2:06.9 for race leader Brady Myers, so it's not over, and 0.2 of a second is the gap. They've been able to escape Andrew Gilliam now. In fact, they've been able to build a big gap out to Andrew Gilliam.
McMillan through.
4 seconds. And McMillan's through on Marlon McMullen, and McMullen's now lost 2 more positions. And Boyd's looking for an opportunistic move around the outside. Not going to happen, but he'll have good speed down the straight, and he's going to try and maybe even go for a bit of a pass on the outer outside line, on the outer extremities of the circuit there. Not able to make it work, but McMillan's going to have to defend hard into turn number 3 in the Zero Esports machine there, and he's going to be able to do so. Jack Boyd just running a little bit too deep and having to... Oh, he's going to have to defend now from Jordan Ross.
No.
Oh, it's a big bump up on 2 wheels for the Gone Rogue Motorsports machine. And those tyres were going a little rogue with their traction spots on the track there. And lucky to recover from an incident like that. Side-to-side contact in these V8 supercars can be very brutal. And unfortunately, they're quite unceremoniously dumped for Jack Boyd. But up at the front of the race here, with just 3 and a bit laps to go, Brady Myers is still under immense pressure. These guys have already shared stints in the lead of this race, and Burton is looking for a way past. He's so strong. A little bit of a rub. Oh, and it's all over for Brady Myers. Was that a little bit of a rub in the braking zone there that unsettled him? We'll have to have a look. We will get that angle for you there, thanks to modem simulation in the braking zones here. So what a great view on the back of Brady Myers. And there's definitely some movement there from both of those vehicles. And here we go. Jake Burton, you got to give it to him, has redressed it. So that's a tip of the hat to Jake Burton there. That's very good sportsmanship from the young man. And good to see that he's also wanting the fans to see a good ending to this race. But he's now not made himself easy for him. He's only got 2 and a bit laps to go here to get the move done. And Andrew Gilliam is finding himself at the head of this train once again. And Chris Coxhead's going to push it to the Pursuit Sim Racing driver for the final spot on the podium. And a lot of guys have been looking for a long way round down into turn number 3. Not many have found one. And having to pick their way through the Gone Rogue Motorsports machine there as well. But Andrew Gilliam's got a bit deep. Coxhead goes to the crossover. He's going to have the inside line for 4. And if he can get the move done and force Gilliam to the outside of the track as he did so to him before, he is going to get up into the final stop of the podium. But Chris Coxhead in his V8 Sleuth Esports machine, and now Jordan Ross under immense pressure from McMillan, and McMullen has worked his way back up on the side of these guys as well, as McMillan has to give up that position, and now McMullen's going to go around the outside. Oh no, McMillan and McMullen, big touch there, but massive moment. They've been able to keep it on the track, but they're not able to keep the bumpers off each other because oh no, and those guys could keep it together as well as my voice can at this stage, because that is McMillan. That would have been very painful in real life. So thanks to iRacing to providing the padding on that incident, and that is a huge contact for Thomas McMillan as those guys got tangled up on the exit of the carousel. There is no lack of action this evening, ladies and gentlemen. No matter where you look, it is happening and it is going, and these guys have not been afraid to lay panels on each other this evening, and neither of these guys is on for the lead once again. Oh no! Jake Burton has lost it completely into turn number 1. And will we see, or what will we see here? We'll get a replay of that again, I'm sure. See how much room was left between these guys as they came down into turn number 1. Oh, not much. have to see that one again. Jake Burton definitely had a little bit of room on the outside of the track there, but
Brady slowed up. Brady slowed up to let Burton catch back up.
Here we go. So, again, guys, this is just so good to see. We'll see if he does go through with redressing that, or if he's going to let him just catch up. I think he might just let him catch up a bit here and give him another go, because that was a bit ambiguous there, what happened into turn number 1. So great to see once again between these two drivers. No matter how hard they're racing and no matter what's happening between these guys, they're still able to see what is fair and what's good for the fans. And Brady Myers has decided to check up just a little bit. And, you know, that's all very well and good for those guys to be sportsmanlike between each other. But, well, Chris Coxhead is not too far behind. And if these guys start battling for the last 2 laps here, we could find him in a very reasonable expectation of being in a chance to win it here. So we'll see if Jake's able to close up that gap to the lead once again, and if he's able to put a move on our race leader, Brady Myers, for Zero Esports, who has been having one of the toughest races of his career here in the Monday Night Series, I'm sure, because this has been easy for nobody. Started from pole, did Brady Myers. Almost looked like he wasn't going to, but snatched it back in the final moments of qualifying. And from then on, led the first 8 odd laps of this race. But has come under immense pressure from many angles. Jake Burton is one of them, and has arguably been the most present source of danger for a loss this evening for Brady Myers. And he has worked himself back up once again very quickly. That machine of Jake Burton has been looking very strong tonight. And I dare say that we will see another couple of moves on for this evening's lead. And it's already going to happen into turn 3. Oh, a very late cover there from Brady Myers. And Jake Burton was maybe expecting that a little bit. Not quite a car available to go through on for Burton. And he decided to duck to the outside, but had enough room in his braking capability to make that maneuver. So definitely ever present in his mind. And that's just opened up the gap a little bit once again. A little bit of breathing room for the Zero Esports driver of Brady Myers. Only 1 1/4 laps to go here at Road America. It's been definitely an arena of speed this evening, but it's been more of a bloodbath, with these guys really showing, you know, lots of love on the panel work. And a big incident on the first lap as well, as really throwing things up in the air for all of our drivers. And coming through the final section of this track for the penultimate lap, Brady Myers still retains the lead of this race. Coming through the final corner now. And it's a good exit for Jake Burton. He's been carrying good speed. But James Mackey just behind those guys. Getting a little bit crossed up behind his teammate there. And Sam Sutton, God, he's come from a while back. He was sitting down in 8th. So not too many positions back, but he was sitting so much further back in terms of track position. And has managed to close down the gap to the lead to just 4 seconds. Incredible driving from the veteran in this series. But up at the front, it's still very close, 0.2 of a second over the line. Probably a little bit closer than that now for Jake Burton. Just a little bit over, but it's closing. He's in the draft of the Zero Esports driver of Brady Myers. It's coming down to this final lap for race victory, and we've seen it week after week after week, ladies and gentlemen. These last couple of laps never fail to disappoint. And these drivers never fail to disappoint as they battle on the very limits of grip here at Road America. And Brady Myers is going to have to defend around the outside from Jake Burton. They're going to go 2 by 2 through this section of track here. And it's easily done between hard racing, respectful drivers. And they have so shown just now. And Brady Myers is managing just to keep it ahead of Jake Burton. Oh my goodness, who is going to come out on top here? There's one more big opportunity for overtaking, but a late lunge into the final corner wouldn't go down astray, and a drag race to the line could be possible. I doubt any of these guys having to worry about fuel, but it wouldn't be the iRacing V8 Supercars official series if someone didn't run out of fuel across the line. These guys have been pushing, especially Brady. You'd be worried for him if anyone. He's had the least opportunity. Here we are. The final big braking zone, a late lunge from Burton. He's on the grass. He keeps it all under control amazingly, but not quite able to get the move done. He's got one last opportunity, a big dive or a big exit out of the final corner, but it's looking good here for Zero Esports. Brady Myers, who has fought off an absolutely fantastic contest from so many of our competitors this evening, and Brady Myers will take home round number 7 here at Road America in the iRacing iRacing V8 Supercars official series. Jake Burton comes home in second, and Chris Coxhead in his V8 Sleuth Esports machine. A fantastic drive for him. Started third, finished third, but God, didn't a lot happen in between there for him. And the two Pursuit Sim Racing cars, Andrew Gilliam and James Mackey, coming home for 4th and 5th respectively, and was nearly in the dying stages of that race. Nearly swapped positions there, but Andrew Gilliam just managing to hold on just 0.2 of a second between the teammates there. Jade, I mean, we've had lots of very good races here, especially in the Monday night series, but that one was definitely up there.
That was one of the best we've ever seen in this series. That was incredible. Well done to Brady Myers for holding on. Well done to Jake Burton for the sportsmanship between those two guys as well throughout that race. There was a bit of bumping, but they always made sure that they gave the positions back if they felt they were in the wrong. It was great to see that sort of sportsmanship between those two. And what this does, Brady Myers is now second in the championship, closes the gap down to Jake Burton, and it puts Marlon McMullen back in third in the championship. So Brady's come from nowhere and has become a contender.
Absolutely. I mean, the momentum he's picked up after joining Zero Esports is definitely showing with victory this evening here. Round number 7 at Road America in the iRacing V8 Supercars official series. Brady Myers is the man who will spray the champagne on the top step of the podium, followed so closely by Jake Burton and Chris Coxhead within a second of the race victory this evening as well. And I feel like saying that's like the 5th or the 6th race in a row where we've had not just the top 3, but in some cases the top 4 within a second of race victory. So good to see. Andrew Gilliam and James Mackey for Pursuit Sim Racing, both finding themselves inside the top 5. Good night for them. Sam Sutton for TTL Esports in 6th position. Jordan Ross in his Evolution Racing Team machine in 7th position. Jack Boyd for Gone Rogue Motorsports. Could have been a better night for him. Got dumped a little bit in those last few laps there, but still not a too bad result there in 8th. In 9th, Marlon McMullen, who's fallen down a little bit in the championship standings now after an epic performance tonight by Brady Myers and Jake Burton. And the man to round out the top 10, and actually a very good result for him, Steve Jansen.
Yeah, started 12th, finished in 10th. He'll be very, very happy with that. Christian Smart, Scott O'Keefe did get involved in that early incident and did make it home in the end in 11th and 12th, with Michael Taliancic also involved in that big one on lap 1, finished in 13th. Forneray, the last car on the lead lap, finishes pretty much a full lap behind the leaders, 2 minutes and 7 seconds back. Then McMillan, heartbreak for him with that incident with McMullen. Jackson Suzlin Harlow did make it back out on the track, finishes 3 laps down in the end. And Damien Johnson, 4 laps down, we saw him at the end there limping around. Harley Haber got disqualified, unfortunately. Too many incidents, and finishes in position number 18. Zach Baker, David Kidman, Greg Sharp and Corey Preston all involved in that big incident early on in the race. Did not finish the race, unfortunately. What a night that was. Bring on next week already. I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, next week's going to be absolutely fantastic.
VIR.
I have to say VIR is one of my favorite tracks.
Mine too.
Probably not the best for racing, but it's a very tight track. It's very difficult to get by, but you are very susceptible to mistakes. It is a very difficult to get track to get right, and it's even more difficult to get it right time after time after time. So it's going to be a fantastic race and just a beautiful track to be at. So much fun to drive as well.
And it's provided some of the best racing we've ever had in this series. We think back to the early days of this series when we had Richie Stanaway and Justin Rougier fight for the win, battles between Scott McLaughlin and Richard Hampstead. So it's had some amazing battles throughout the years, and great to see it back on the schedule. Looking forward to next week. Absolutely.
These North American tracks do not fail to provide good action. Some more action coming at you this week on the iRacing Esports Network from another North American track, the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. GTEs will be going around mid-Ohio for round number 2. I actually stood on the podium for round number 1, so hoping
How did that happen?
Yeah, I know. Good times. But looking for another good night of racing on Wednesday, but lots of fantastic contenders in that one, which we'll be looking forward to seeing. And then on Saturday evening as well, we have the Major Series, which is, if I can recall correctly, Jay,
Eldora.
410s at Eldora.
Yep.
So that will be fantastic racing. Always good to see the wings out there getting plenty of speed and very sideways for our entertainment. And then also more action, as we said, in the iRacing V8 Supercars official series next Monday from Virginia International Raceway, which will be so fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have any of my voice left. So we shall bid you adieu here from the iRacing Esports Network, which has been proudly presented this evening by SimSpeed TV. Thank you so much to Jay Kennedy for joining me in the commentary booth this evening and bringing us the spectacular racing that we have seen this afternoon. My name is Zach Hanlon. It's been a pleasure calling tonight's race, and until next time, be well.
Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing.
Fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's going the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?